everyone. Welcome to Star Codes. This is Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist, and today we're going to cover the conjunction between Mars and Uranus. Mars entered Taurus on January 6th, and Mars will be merged together in the heavens with Uranus on January 20th. And I'm sure it's not lost on you that these two dates are vital in terms of what's going on in the US right now. And that's a whole nother story that we can bypass in a sense in terms of the division that is being created and the mayhem that's being created by looking at the higher vibrational meaning of this conjunction. So we're going to look at the dynamic impact of Mars and Uranus joining forces in Taurus, what the degree of that conjunction means, how it ties into just the whole human experience, and how Uranus ending its retrograde a week before this conjunction makes it even more dynamic and impactful. And then we're going to end, of course, with tips and just looking at how to take advantage of the incredible growth that's happening within all of us right now in terms of the Mars and Uranus meetup. Now, Mars and Uranus in Taurus is a very stable sign, and Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, and it moves very slowly. So it's going to be in Taurus for several more years, and currently is in a retrograde at 6 degrees Taurus. Now, Uranus is the planet of change and innovation. Mars is the planet of fire and confidence and new directions, passion, energy. And the date that this merging of the two planets happens, as I mentioned, is January 20th. Now, that date adds up to a universal day of 8. And 8 signifies infinity, leaving a legacy behind of some kind. And 20 emphasizes harmony, diplomacy, listening, which we're going to really cover today, connecting, super important, kindness, inspiration. So 8, which is very much about leadership, owning your life in terms of taking responsibility for everything that's going on, not blaming others, not complaining, just being the leader, is merging with this beautiful number 2, which is so intuitive and a bringer of peace. So it allows us to be empowered from within for guidance, for intuitive guidance. And that inner confidence that we receive by letting go of our ego and allowing the divine to inspire us energetically yields powerful results. So we're looking at cooperation, listening, the courage to notice when we are out of alignment, and this kind of intimate communication will allow for really amazing and very much necessary breakthroughs at this time, because your inner soul authority is yearning to be heard, yearning to be listened to, yearning to speak. And that will bring all our relationships into a vibrational balance, because we will step out of judgment and into acceptance and compassion. Now, Mars conjunct Uranus is happening on this day. And this brings a great intensification of your creativity, your ability to download incredible ideas. Also, yearning for independence, yearning for freedom. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and we are now segueing into the age of Aquarius. And so this yearning for independence and freedom, freedom of movement, freedom of exploration, is very much increased. And what is necessary to keep us in balance is, of course, always tuning in, the intuition, which Uranus governs as well. So flashes of insights, those downloads that we get, to really take a moment before we move on or write that email or respond to a question or a conversation. Now, many quick decisions can be made at this time. This is very fast-moving energy with Mars and Uranus when they get together. It empowers your alertness. It helps you be prepared for surprising developments, which are very much in play all of January, and it magnifies your enthusiasm as well. Now, because Mars governs goals, those can be directed very quickly with great results as you embrace what you may not have before, the unusual, the different, the out of the box, the politically incorrect, whatever the case may be. You have desire to have fun, have excitement, explore what you wouldn't have done before now. So it governs very much what the number 5 for 2021 is about as well. 2021 adds up to a 5 universal year. So there's movement and freedom and independence and risk in all of these themes that we're starting the year with. They're setting basically the narrative for 2021. So it's a wonderful time to implement change, to accept that life is always about accepting changeable circumstances and being open, generally very, very open. 5 is very open, that number. It faces left, it faces right, it has straight lines, it has curved lines, it encompasses the whole human experience. So exploring new territory, being open to encounters that, appear out of nowhere, that is really what we're talking about here. And so since this conjunction is really going to fire up energy in so many ways, we have to really tune into how to practice using this energy in a state of calmness. And that's where Taurus comes in, because Taurus is a very steady, calm influence, very grounded sign, very patient. So this conjunction in Taurus is helping us to get passionate, feel compassion from first being in a state of calm. And spiritually, this being in a state of conscious awareness is the only way we're going to navigate any division and separation, aggression, opinionated energy that comes your way, and move away from those outdated belief systems of needing to belong to a certain group or a certain agenda, or furthering a belief, an idea, or furthering anything that was externally created that did not come from inner inspiration. So Uranus governs this rapid change of energy that encompasses our merging into the Aquarian age. And our state of consciousness needs to be able to be very flexible, because it's being raised now to a higher state in a rapid way. And these two planets coming together right when Uranus is stationing, meaning it's stationing from being retrograde to being direct, and that happens on January 13th. And so when a slow-moving planet stations, or any planet stations from retrograde to direct or vice versa, it is having its greatest impact. And especially the slow-moving planets, which really, once they get into their rhythm, they just have the general impact that is sort of long-lasting. When they change direction, they really are felt. So Uranus's energy is really felt anyway in January to begin with, and then Mars comes in and joins forces. And as I said, that happens at 6 degrees. And this number is the number of human love, of family, of nurturing. And it doesn't necessarily mean your actual blood family. It means your soul family. This is really a powerful number that we need to tune into, this number 6. It represents the pregnant mother, the mother carrying child, having the responsibility of giving life and then nurturing that life. So in the same way, we are being asked, with Mars entering Taurus on January 6th and then merging with Uranus at 6 degrees, right? This is really a powerful moment of loving and feeling compassion. And understanding that your state of consciousness matters not only to you, but to everyone around you. You affect others, and everyone affects everyone else. And this happens through transmission. So when you transmit love and compassion and acceptance, that's what others will also feel, and vice versa. So just like Uranus transmits the energy of electricity and intuition and inspiration and exploration and freedom, Mars transmits the energy of instinctual drive, passion. And so these are transmissions of our state of consciousness. And just as spiritual teachers transmit a higher consciousness that we are naturally attracted to, everyone transmits whatever state of consciousness they're in. So with this Mars-Uranus conjunction happening in Taurus, we're being asked to get real, to ground into reality, to ground into truth. And truth is one of the big messengers of 2021, right? So to take stock of our life, to be real about what is appearing in front of us. So the big growth experience happening now is to learn to shift into a place where you can consciously keep your high vibration, keep it in that high place while you are with others that are in a lower vibration of whatever it is, judgment, jealousy, aggression, separation, whatever the case may be, right? This is where Taurus is so helpful, is to keep that patience, that security, that grounding, that calming energy. So Taurus provides that firm ground that allows you to stay in that higher state, that balance, to be more firmly established in that higher state of consciousness. Taurus is patient. Taurus will take time to practice, right, in order to accomplish that goal of remaining in that higher vibration. And remaining in that state of consciousness does take time. It does take practice. It does take patience, all of the qualities that Taurus has. So moving there is accelerated when you engage in things that take you into silence. Taurus is a silent sign. It listens, walking into nature, listening to beautiful music, meditating, so important. So remaining in that state when you're not being in a state of meditation, so coming out of the meditation, coming out of the walk, coming out of the reading an incredible book that's uplifting, and then still remaining in that state. That is the practice, right? That is what we need to look at, because our world is not exactly set up for remaining in a meditation at all times. I mean, that's extremely obvious by this point, if you haven't noticed already. So the new practices that may be helpful, that I've found helpful, that may help you to stay in that higher vibrational consciousness, is really an act of observation and noticing. So Mars conjunct Uranus, Mars is that inner flame, that spirit, that light that wants to spark with energy and passion, and Uranus is that channel, the channel of the light, the discovery of new breakthroughs, right? Very revolutionary planet as well. So one of the revolutionary things that I am learning and practicing as much as I can is to speak only when I am moved by presence. And of course, when we are impulsive, our ego tends to speak. But when we listen for that moment, that split second, before we say anything, we literally are not coming from an egoic place. The ego likes to state an opinion in order to elicit a reaction from others, right? And then a debate begins, a conversation begins, but it is based on the ego. When a person speaks with ego, they want to demonstrate what they know, they want to share what they've discovered, or they want to go into drama about what happens or give an opinion on this and that. What happens then is the pastime of the ego is literally to talk about others or judge them or gossip. It's another way to separate, right? It creates division because it's better than or less than. Let's talk about this person because I know better and look at what that person's doing, kind of thing. Talking about other people in order to understand them, of course, is very different. It's very helpful when you come from a place of quietude, when you're really tuning in and listening, right? But there can be an attachment during that sharing to the pain and suffering that was felt during the experience. And this is why we need to be very careful, because if there's any sense of judgment being applied, I suffered, I felt pain due to this experience, that again is creating an identity with the suffering itself. So another way to watch is not to give advice to others when it's not asked for. Unsolicited advice is how the ego feels like it knows best, right? And it is under the guise of sharing something that is valid. And of course, it may be very valid to you because you see it, but it is not in relation to what that other person is asking for. So again, it's not that the advice isn't warranted, but when it's given as an opinion, then it doesn't serve a purpose except to judge other people's behavior, what they're experiencing, right? Their decisions. So compassion and acceptance are really the key. They're the pathways to remaining in that presence, in that wisdom. Being compassionate, being accepting of others, that keeps you in a place of presence because you're not attached to the outcome. And this is the key. So the divisions that we see externally playing out in front of us, worldwide and within our own experience, can only be healed when we go internally. Because there's no agenda then. We're not attached to that outcome. We're just listening. And the best way to listen is to speak from silence, to only speak when you're moved to, right? By presence. So notice what others are saying. Refrain from identifying with the content, with the beliefs, with the ideas, with their experiences. Refrain from identifying with them because this will keep you in neutrality. And from that neutral place, you can drink from the nectar of love. You can drink from divine presence because you have no role. You have no horse in the race, right? So that compassion is the highest spiritual expression of Mars, which represents our spiritual fire, our internal fire. And the inspiration that comes through represents the highest aha moments of Uranus. And they're, as I said, coming together, merging together in Taurus on January 20th. So you will bring together hearts as opposed to separating and dividing hearts. You will stop disagreeing and agreeing, which is the back and forth of duality, right and wrong. I agree with you, I disagree with you. When you stop disagreeing and agreeing, you're not identifying with people's experiences. You're not reacting to them. And so this, again, this impulsive need to speak up when a topic is mentioned or an experience is shared, that's what we need to look at. Mars is very impulsive. And when you have that need to speak up before listening, before that moment of silence, you know that your ego is wanting attention. And of course it'll happen. It's not to judge that it happens, but it is to start noticing these things. So impulsiveness, represented by Mars, is weakened by deep breathing, meditation, silence. Okay, so being quiet gives presence a chance to emerge, a chance to appear. And when you are then moved to speak, you are speaking with presence. You then embody the highest vibrational embodiment of Mars conjunct Uranus. So see how it feels to take that moment, to wait a second. And it's not to wait in a place of tension. It is literally to listen, to wait before speaking, to wait before writing that email, right? Because the ego does not emerge from silence. The ego emerges from the noise in your head, the voice in your head. That is all your stuff, unresolved past stuff, the stuff that doesn't matter. It's not present. It's the past. How can it be? So waiting a moment for your heart to flower in that silence, that's why going out in nature is so important, because we tune in to listening to the air and hearing the birds or watching the snowfall, whatever it is in terms of your weather at the time. Just tuning into that beauty is paying acute attention. And then you will pay acute attention to what others are saying. And you will pay attention to where the energy arises, where the energy is coming from that is actually expressing. Is it the ego or does it come from presence? And you do the same with yourself. And by the way, the ego will never notice itself, right? That wouldn't even work. How would the ego notice that the ego is speaking? The ego is separated from the ability to observe itself. So pay attention to that, and also look at what brings you peace, what helps you stay calm in any midst of being in the midst of anything, a conversation, an experience. If you're looking at something that's going on in the world, pay attention closely and you'll be able to stay grounded, meaning you're just looking at the bird's eye view of the situation. You're not identifying with it, right? That's the key. So the close paying of attention is literally allowing your soul to be present, because you're now looking with the eyes of presence, the eyes of the soul. You're not coming into it as, I have a stake in this, I identify with one side or the other. See, that's the key. Once you do that, the identification, again, the letter I, you can see, identifying with anything takes you out of that state of presence. You're then removed from observing all sides, the whole picture. The staying calm and serene, especially in our relationships, meaning our conversations, is the key. And then you become an alchemist in the truest sense, because you're turning ego into presence. You're literally alchemizing the identification with self, which separates and wants to dominate. And you're turning that into unconditional love. We are all in this together. Let me listen to you. Let me not speak. Let me just hear you out. Right? That kind of approach is really the key here with Mars and Uranus, because it's very fiery. And if we don't tune into that peaceful presence, we can easily get sucked into the reactionary state where we're literally identifying with one side and fighting for it. Right? So just be very aware of that as we move through the whole month, and in particular this week moving into January 20th. And allow yourself to just immerse in peace, in the feeling of non-reaction, the feeling of presence, the feeling of joy, the feeling of listening. How does it feel to just listen and not speak up? Unless you feel prompted by presence to do so, right? That is really an incredible feeling. So one of the things also that will help you is to know who you are at soul level. And that is revealed in the numbers in your birthday, your day of birth, and your whole birthday number, which is called your life purpose, and your name at birth. The name on your actual birth certificate can be added up, and that number that it adds up to describes your destiny. It's your career sector. And these numbers in themselves, these 3 birth code numbers, your 3 important birth numbers, are very integral to your life. So you can discover those and a lot more, including your astrology, in a free masterclass I created at starcodeclass.com. And it just helps you move out of that identification with what the external expectations have put on you, sort of identifying with what you're supposed to be and what you truly are. It moves you into your soul and it calms you down. It looks at your shadow side and it looks at your high vibrational side of each number, so you can really see when you're on track, when you're being in a harmonious, balanced, wonderful, neutral state, and when you're not, when you're actually out of sync. And those are good to know. How else do we grow, right? So enjoy that class. It's free. It comes with a handout, and you can access it at starcodeclass.com. Meanwhile, have an amazing week. Stay calm and collected, and I'll see you next week's Star Codes podcast.